Hello, my name's Sonia Mainstone-Cotton, and I'm doing a short video on staff wellbeing, how to support your own wellbeing, and this is going to be the first one of two. As you are returning to work in June, some of you may have already been there, but most of you will be returning in June, and I'm sure that there will be many mixed feelings about that return. Some of you might be hugely relieved and so pleased to be getting out of the home and getting back into work. And to see your colleagues and to see the children will be a massive relief. Others of you might be actually really worried and really anxious and a little bit scared about how it might be and what the risks are to yourself and to your loved ones. This has been the most strangest of times for everybody. There's a phrase that we've heard a lot, which is we may all be in the same storm, but we're not on the same boat. We've all had very different experiences of this time. And for some people, you may find that actually the lockdown period was brilliant and it was great, and you had some really quality time with your family and you had some great times and some really good memories were made. For others of you, you may have lost people that you loved. There may be just deep bereavement and loss. You may be feeling a loss about the things that you weren't able to do that you'd planned to do. Or you may have just been really lonely. Maybe you were living by yourself and you felt hugely distanced from friends and family, and that was really hard. So we're all coming back, having experienced very different things. And looking after ourselves is always really important. Well-being is not a luxury. Looking after our well-being is not a selfish act. It's something that's really important that we do to look after ourselves. And we cannot look after children's well-being if we're not in a good place ourselves. And this is particularly so at this time on returning, because our children will be returning and some of them will be feeling scared and worried and anxious. And I'm going to talk about that in some other videos. But right now we need to think about you and what you can do to support yourself. So I think the first thing you need to really embrace is looking after yourself is essential. You also need to be really clear around how you're feeling and what's going on for you, and be quite vocal about that. And that's okay to be able to say to people, I'm really not feeling good today, or I'm feeling really scared about this. You need to make that known to the people that you work with and to your managers, not in an aggressive way, but in a, actually, I'm quite worried. It's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to be worried or scared or excited. Our feelings are neither good nor bad, they just are. And what's so important is that we have a good vocabulary around our emotions and our understanding, and that we can feel at ease about that. We can recognise it, we can see what's going on. It can be really useful to sometimes name it for yourself, maybe sometimes for other people as well, to hear it. There's a poet and theologian called Podrick Tuma who I really like. I really like his voice, and has a very soothing voice. And he has this phrase called "say hello to." So he talks about saying hello to our feelings, say hello to our emotions. And certainly at the beginning of lockdown, I was using that a lot. So every day, I would often just be saying in my own head, hello anger, hello rage, hello sadness. And at the beginning of lockdown, I found that my emotions and my feelings were just rapidly changing. They kind of came in waves, and they could change very quickly. And then over time, I guess I kind of settled into it and still had a range, but less dramatically. And I just wonder whether on your return to work that actually you may experience that again. You may find that there are rapid waves of emotions again, and that's okay. But just be aware of that and notice what it's doing in your body. So it might be making you feel quite tense. It might be making your heart go quite quickly. Your breathing might be quite shallow. Notice that. And when you notice it, say to yourself, oh, what's going on? What's this about? And acknowledge that. So maybe saying to your colleagues, I'm finding this quite hard today. That doesn't mean to say that you can suddenly go home, but it's about acknowledging that and saying, actually, this is quite difficult, and recognising that. So that's the first thing I'd suggest. And then other things like you really need to be taking on board that self-care at this moment. We need to enable our stress systems to be as low as possible, and the world around us is stressed, and people are feeling stressed about the return and the lifting of lockdown. Whatever your political views are on that, there is a lot of stress around that. And it's important to try and look after ourselves, particularly when we're stressed. So things like making sure you're getting some good sleep. The recommendation is 7 to 9 hours a night if possible. Make sure you're eating properly and you're drinking enough. You know, those simple self-care things. Don't drink too much alcohol. You know, those simple things that we know helps us. Exercise. You know, if you're able to exercise, do some exercise. Getting out and walking. Those things will really help you. Eat well. Eat properly. Make sure you're having 3 meals a day, not just snacking all day. Some really good advice around stress is by a guy called Dr. Ranjan Chatterjee, I think is how you say his name. So he has this book, which I would really recommend. It's a really useful book. So it's called The Stress Solution. He covers loads of ideas in there, but it's really useful. So if you're aware that your stress levels are quite high, then it's worth looking at that. He also has a podcast, so you could listen to some of his podcasts if you don't want to buy the book. But it's worth really paying attention and noticing what's going on. There's some other really simple things that you could do. You could practice mindfulness. If that's not something you do already, mindfulness is a really good way of just lowering our stress levels, helping us to find some calmness, which in this current times is really important. Smiling Mind is a really useful app for mindfulness that I'd recommend. It's free. It has some really useful mindful meditations on there that you can just listen to. Some as short as 10 minutes, some longer. So that might be really handy. And then just simple things like doing a hand massage. So I recommend this to lots of teachers that I work with and nursery staff. So find some hand cream and then just gently do hand massage, just really paying attention. It's just really simple self-care, self-nurturing. We often carry hand cream on us without really thinking about it. We just quickly put it on our hands. But this is about a really intentional act of gently massaging it into your hands, thinking about the way it smells, thinking about how it smells, how it feels. Being kind to yourself, maybe even saying to yourself, I'm going to be kind to myself right now. I love myself. I'm going to be kind to myself, because that's what you're needing. Also, having time outside is really important, getting out as much as you can. Some of the later recordings I'm going to do will be around being outside, and we can think about that a little bit more. But if you're inside and you're not able to get out, but you're feeling that you're getting a bit agitated and you can't move on to the Smiling Mind app because you're in the room and you're feeling a bit stressed, you could just do a really simple noticing and stopping meditation or act, mindful act. So for that, you just need to stand or sit, put your feet firmly on the ground. If possible, take your shoes off so you really get a sense of the ground underneath you, and just sit and notice. Be aware of your feet on the ground. Be aware of your breathing, whether that's quite fast or slow. Maybe notice what's in your head, what's going through in your mind. Just take a few moments to just notice where you are and how you're feeling, and then move on to another thing. It's a very simple activity to do. If you're feeling that your breathing is becoming quite fast and you're really feeling quite anxious, again, another activity you can do is 7-11 breathing. So 7-11 breathing is used when people are feeling very stressed and having a panic attack. And the idea is that you breathe in for 7 and you breathe out for 11. You always breathe out for longer because you want to bring oxygen into the blood, which will slow down your heart rate. If 7-11 is too much, you could try 5-7. So you breathe in for 7 and you breathe out for 11. And you just try that a few times, and that will begin to slow you and help you to bring some calmness. So I hope that's just given you a few really simple ideas. And the next recording will be around things that you can do outside and how that might work.